interplay of light and shadow, a landscape done in watercolor, specifically with pan watercolors. And the painting that I'm holding here is what the video you're about to watch is about. And I approached it so that anybody could do it. If it looks detailed and complex, well, that's a trick. It's a trick that is easy to learn. It's not as difficult as Penn and Teller. No, it's a relatively easy, I don't know if trick is the right word, maybe technique. And by the way, it's in my third journal. This is the third journal I'm working on to put pictures in every page. So this is a video to show you how to do pan watercolor landscapes, specifically this type of landscape. I was thinking about just the greens of springtime, because it is springtime right now here in Florida, probably everywhere in the northern hemisphere. And so I think we're just going to explore basically what this is light and shadow, light and dark. You know, I think the introduction of vertical lines helps. So this is not an abstract. This is maybe more of an impressionistic painting. But the vertical lines in this case are the trees. And that's what I mean. Or maybe the little wisps of grass that I put in there. And that's it. So let me stop talking and start the video. And here we go. Good morning. Let's do another landscape. This time we're going to use pan watercolors. These are the watercolors. When I say pan watercolors, by the way, what I mean are the watercolors that come dry. They're not wet. They're not in a tube. They don't work unless you activate them with water. And so they're in a pan, you see. This particular brand is called My Lang, and I'm probably saying that wrong, Meiling. And today I just want to use a lot of greens and yellows and maybe, I don't know, some browns. We'll just have some fun here. Just see what we get. Just come up with something. Just add some light colors here, and we'll get darker and darker as we go along. Just make a nice little springtime landscape. That's kind of what I want to do. A springtime landscape. So add a little bit of blue to that yellow, and it'll be green. And just kind of add some distant trees there. Wow. By the way, it's Sunday morning. It's March 23rd, 2025. It's 6:28 in the morning. And I said, wow, because I just heard a siren out there. I'm always amazed at how early, in the times of days when sirens happen. It's all the time. So hopefully somebody's okay. You think about the incredible job that rescue workers do. It really is. I mean, they really have a job. I don't know how they keep their sensibilities. How they handle it when they have to see people in distress and save them. And wow, it's just something. I'm glad they're there. I do have a story that I'm reminding myself of as I tell you that. When I was much younger, I worked for about 7 years in a detention center for juveniles, children, or people under the age of 18. That's the real definition. So when you say children, you're really picturing young adults. But they broke the law in one way or another. A lot of them were minor infractions, you might say, which has nothing to do with my story. My story has to do with one night, because I worked the night shift, and one night there was a boy who was really not feeling well. And even though my supervisor thought he was faking it, I didn't think he was faking it. And so I told my supervisor he needs to go to the hospital. And my supervisor said, no, he's faking it. Don't fall for that. Okay, well, I talked to the boy, and he was really bad. He was really having a hard time. So I tried to implore, is that the word? I tried to really make a case for the boy. He needs to go to the hospital. So I was told that if I took him to the hospital, that I would be fired. So I said, okay, well then I guess I'll be fired, because I was determined that the boy needed to go to the hospital. When I say boy, he was probably 17. He was up there. He wasn't a young boy. And his tongue was swollen. I mean, usually if your tongue is swollen, there's something going on. So I didn't think he was faking it at all. But I could have been proven wrong. Hey, bottom line is my supervisor had more experience than me. Keep in mind, I was from a background of music and art. So what would I know? But I believed that the boy needed help. Anyway, so this is more of a story of the medical team than it is about what I did or the intro to the story, which has to do with the disagreement with my supervisor. Okay. You hear those sirens out there? So anyway, I took the boy to the hospital, and we went, of course, to the emergency room. It's kind of par for the course, right? And I watched the emergency room workers working, and so because he was incarcerated, because he was in a lockup situation, my job at this point was to stay with him. And I didn't stay in the room he was in. I stood outside the room. You see these guys sometimes in movies and stuff there. Like guards and stuff. And I didn't have a gun. I worked for the juveniles. When you work for juveniles, at least here in Florida, you didn't have a weapon, which I was glad of. Wow, you hear that? Hear those sirens? Yeah, they're out there. Wow. So anyway, I took the boy to the hospital, and he went into one of the emergency rooms. And now that's the end of that part of the story, because the rest is more about my observation of the emergency workers. So as I'm standing there waiting for doctors to do whatever they need to do with this boy, I'm watching the nurses and the doctors and all of the medical people, watching them scurry around, doing everything they can as quick as they can to get people who are in dire need the help that they need. And I was thinking to myself, wow, look what they do for a living. I don't even come close. What I do for a living is music. Well, at that time I had a job at the detention center, but the truth was that was just a way to make money. It wasn't my career, nor was it intended to be my career, but my real passion at that time was music and art, in that order. Art didn't take over until much later in life, although I always have done art. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent there. The bottom line is, I was watching these people do their job, and I was thinking to myself, I don't do anything as important as what they do. What they do is so important. What they do is so noble and good, and they're serving humanity in such a great way, and I don't. I was really disappointed in myself, thinking I don't serve humanity at all. I just play music. What am I doing? I'm dedicating myself to something that really isn't that important. That's what I felt. Well, as the night went on, and the emergency room became less and less busy, that's when I noticed something. The doctors and the nurses had a moment to stop and to breathe. And you know what they talked about? They talked about the latest album that they bought. They talked about their favorite music that they were listening to at that time. And I thought to myself, wow, what I do, which is music at that time, is important to these people who do something so important. And the very thing that I do is important to them. So I felt like that was God's way of showing me that I do something that's important, that music is important, that the arts are important. And from then on, I always use that story as a way to express that, maybe we are all gifted in one way or another to serve one another. And if your gift happens to be this, in other words, art, then you are definitely making a difference. We just finished a book. Robin wrote a book about Harriet Beecher Stowe's visit to Silver Springs here in Florida, and I did the illustrations. And it's not the first book we've done, and every book we've done has me excited about them. I'm always excited about the books. But what I'm trying to say is that it was very rewarding to do that, because you know that there's going to be a child somewhere who is influenced by what Robin wrote, and maybe by the pictures that I did. So it's just if I'm trying to say anything at all here to you, it's that no matter what you're doing, if you're building. Sometimes I watch this show called This Old House. Have you ever seen this show? And these guys, they know so much. They're incredible. How much they know, and how to build a house, and how to fix a floor, and how to carve wood and make things, to have a home for somebody. And again, you could say, well, I don't do anything that important. I just do pictures. But guess what they have on the wall in those houses? They have art. Yeah, absolutely. So art does have a role in the world. And you as an artist, you're important. You are important. Sometimes I listen to political analysts on the TV or on the radio or whatever. Or I watch Jeopardy, and I'll say, gosh, I am not smart at all. I don't know any of this stuff. I am so less educated than so many people. So many people know things. I have a brother who's a professor at a university. Oh my gosh, I don't even come close to what he knows. But it doesn't mean that what I do is unimportant. And that's my message to you. Now, everybody has more than one talent, I'm sure. And a lot of people who, I had the brother who died that I have, my brother in heaven, I guess you would say. He was very good with cars. I mean, really good with cars. I mean, he knew cars. Holy cow. If anything ever went wrong with a car of mine, well, there was no question who I called. I called him. Right? So, yep. We all have our thing. And you want to know what that brother one time asked me to do? The brother who's good at cars, he had a motorcycle. And he asked me to paint the Woodstock. Do you remember the cartoon Peanuts? Do you remember Charles Schultz had a little bird named Woodstock? Yeah, so my brother's name was Bob, by the way. Yeah, Bob asked me to paint Woodstock, the bird, on his motorcycle instead of a phoenix rising from the ashes. He wanted Woodstock, and I did that. So, and there was another time too when I went out to California, and his roommate knew that I was an artist, and his roommate asked me to paint something for his room, and I painted like this outer space thing. I painted a space, like stars and planets and stuff like that. So there's a place. We all have a place. Let me get a little smaller brush here. Let's see, which color do I want? This color, I think. Put some shades. Let me get some brown onto this trail here to create those shadows that are going across the trail. Let me water it down a little bit. Little tiny areas here. Keep that curve. So anyway, what I'm talking about today is, who knows? I ramble when I think of what to say, and hopefully you don't mind. But I think it's important to realize that what you're doing is important. That it makes somebody's day. You know, and if what I'm doing is not art, but rather inspiring people, which I'm told all the time. I'm told all the time that doing these little videos inspires people, which that's really good news to me, because that kind of makes me feel good that maybe I am contributing something. So let me lighten these a little bit. It's a little bit too dark. Do you hear the birds outside? Today is Sunday, and today is Robin's brother's birthday. So we'll be going to his place. He lives 83 miles away. So we'll be heading up to his place. It's north of here. So that's what we'll be doing. Alright, we're starting to get there. Let me add a little more blue to some of these areas here. Blue and yellow, just make it a darker green. A little bit darker. That's where the shadows are. Do you hear those birds? With watercolor, it's easier to put dark over light than it is light over dark. I might use some gouache to put some light on dark here. I'm not sure. A little bit darker. There's a little bit blue in here. Okay, I think we got everything with the grassy area here. Maybe make a few more dark leaves at the top here. Basically, I'm using blue and green to make some of these darker leaves. Clusters of them. All right, now we need to put some tree trunks in there. This looks like a good brush for that purpose. Let's get some, or maybe a slightly bigger brush. Well, that one might work. I'll keep this one off to the side. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger. Alright, let's go all the way to the top. Here we go. All the way to the top. Get that tree in there. We'll put one over here. Couple more. Real gentle. Just put some gentle trees, happy trees, using Bob Ross's words. You see, now there's a man, Bob Ross. Look at all the joy he brought to people. Right? Just by painting pictures. So it's kind of the same thing, I guess. What I was talking about earlier. You know, we all have our things that God wants us to do. And I don't know that I can tell anybody what they're supposed to do. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. to be honest. I think my whole life has been a one day at a time kind of an approach. I think it's what I've been. One day at a time. Do the best you can. You know, when things get frustrating, find something to release the pressure of frustration. Maybe it's art, maybe it's TV, maybe it's YouTube. Nowadays, right? I use YouTube for that. I absolutely do. Let me explain. I like to watch like funny videos of dogs. I really do. I like running around doing silly things and just, I don't know, dogs just, there's a song in the musical, oh gosh, I can't remember what musical it's in, but there's a song called Dogs in the Yard. Maybe it was Fame? Remember the musical Fame? And the song goes, I want to go crazy like the dogs in the yard. And I love what that song conjures up in my mind, because that's right, I want to go crazy like the dogs in the yard, just barking my fool head off and and chasing things for no reason. You know, dogs are like perpetual children. Yeah, I loved having a dog when I had a dog. I'm too old for a dog now. I don't think it would work for me. Alright, I think I'm going to almost say it's done. I'm not sure yet. But I think I need to add a little bit more something. A little bit more something. Let me add some leaves to this tree here. This is a tree without leaves. I don't want that. Yeah, that works out nice. I wanna go crazy like the dogs in the yard. I love that song. It's been a long time since I thought about that song. So now I'm using this little brush to create these little wisps of grass. And maybe to accentuate this, the shadows of the tree. Bring it down to the edge here. A little bit darker on the left side, on the right side, on the shadow side. Just little leaves, little branches. See if I can get some yellow on top of the... Yeah, I can do that. This is one of those rare exceptions where I can put light on dark. I guess the trick is to let it dry. But if it didn't work, I would have used gouache. And that would have worked too. There we go. That looks kind of neat, doesn't it? It's a neat little landscape right there. All right, I think I'm done. I think I'm almost done anyway. Maybe a little bit darker. Where these tree shadows cross the path. It looks all right. I think we're done. Just curious if I put a little bit of red, just a couple of red spots to indicate some flowers. Just curious if it'll work out. Oh yeah, just a few of them. Just a few little red areas. I wonder if I could do white. There's some little wildflowers growing along the path here. Let's try white. Oh, that white is really, really dirty. I don't think I'm going to be able to use it. I don't think you can see it, but... Oh, my stomach just said something. Alright, I think I'm done. There we go. There's our springtime trail. There it is. It's springtime and we're going for a walk in the woods. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Thank you for watching. Bye.